The slap came out of nowhere. One moment, Claire and I were having dinner. The next, my cheek burned as my head snapped to the side. I hit the floor, dazed, my breath stuck in my throat. I looked up at my wife, confused, but her face was twisted, in fury. "How could you?" Her voice trembled with anger. I searched my mind for an answer, but nothing made sense. Just moments ago, everything had been fine. Then I remembered her mother, Lorraine, had whispered something in her ear. Now Claire's rage had transformed into something else. Fear. Pure, raw fear. She turned toward the door, hesitated, and then bolted. Lorraine followed, her expression unreadable. I stood in the silent dining room, my pulse hammering. What had Lorraine told her? What had she done? Memories surfaced. How Claire and I had met. How our love had blossomed effortlessly. But things had changed when Lorraine moved in. Subtle at first, passive-aggressive remarks, Claire growing distant, whispers behind closed doors. Lorraine was poison, and I had been too blind to see how deep it had seeped. I needed answers. I called Marcus, my best friend. "Claire hit me," I said. He was silent. Then, "Lorraine's playing a long game, man, and she's winning." My gut clenched. Then I saw it. A letter on the floor, one I had hidden for years. Lorraine must have found it and given it to Claire. A chill ran down my spine. Whatever lie she had spun, it had shattered my wife's trust. I bolted outside, searching for Claire. I found her in the park, standing near the fountain, arms wrapped around herself. She looked so small, so broken. "Claire," I said softly. She flinched but didn't move. I took a step closer. "Whatever Lorraine told you, let me explain." She turned to face me, eyes shining with unshed tears. "I don't know what's real anymore." Neither did I. But I had to fix this before it was too late. She stiffened but didn't turn around. I took a step closer. "Claw, please, just talk to me." She let out a shaky breath. "Why do you have that letter?" Her voice was raw. I hesitated, then pulled it from my pocket. "Because I never threw it away." Slowly she turned. Her red-rimmed eyes were torn between anger and something worse. Betrayal. She gripped the letter tightly. "You lied to me." "No, Claw, I didn't." "Then explain," she demanded. "Because my mother told me everything, and I don't know what to believe anymore." I clenched my jaw. Lorraine had done what she did best, twisted the truth, poisoning Claw's trust in me. "Whatever she told you, hear it from me first. Please." She didn't move, but didn't walk away either. That was something. But fear lingered in her eyes. Not just doubt, fear. That was what gutted me. She held the letter like a shield, trembling. "I need space," she whispered. "I can't be near you right now." The words hit harder than I expected. Space. Such a simple request, but it felt like the final crack before everything shattered. "Claw, please." She turned, walking away, her arms wrapped around herself. I wanted to stop her, to make her see that Lorraine was lying, but if I pushed now, I'd lose her completely. So I let her go. I needed help, someone who believed me. I pulled out my phone and called the only person I could trust, Marcus. "Yo, what's up?" His voice was casual, but he knew something was wrong. I exhaled. "I need to talk. Come over." I barely registered the drive. When I arrived, Marcus stood at his door, arms crossed. "Tell me everything." I didn't even wait for him to shut the door. "She hit me." Marcus blinked. "What?" "We were at dinner." Lorraine whispered something, and the next thing I know, Claw's looking at me like I'm the worst person in the world. I pulled out the crumpled letter. Then this. Marcus unfolded it, reading. His expression darkened. "Damn. This is from..." I nodded. "My father." Marcus exhaled. And Cla saw this? Lorraine gave it to her. She spun it into something worse. Now Cla thinks I've been hiding something. She's playing dirty. When has she ever played fair? Marcus sighed. So what now? Cla wants space, but the longer I stay away, the more time Lorraine has to twist things. Then stop playing defense, Marcus said. Find out what Lorraine told her and get ahead of it. I ran a hand through my hair. And if I've already lost her? You haven't. Not yet. But you need to move fast. I didn't sleep that night. Cla hadn't come home, and my phone remained silent. By morning, exhaustion weighed on me. But my mind wouldn't stop replaying her expression when she saw the letter, like she didn't know me anymore. Then my phone rang. We need to talk, Cla said. No invitation, no hesitation. A command. I swallowed. Tomorrow? No excuses. Then she hung up. The next afternoon, I met her at Rivertown Cafe, the place where we had first met, where we had laughed and talked for hours. Now it felt like a battleground. She was already there, sitting by the window. When I sat down, she pulled out the letter, placing it between us like evidence in a trial. Explain. I swallowed hard. It's from my father. She paled. You told me he abandoned you. He did. Then why is he writing to you now? I exhaled. Because he wants something. I never responded. Her hands clenched. My mom said you were hiding something, that you've been lying to me. I leaned forward. Your mother has been trying to turn you against me since the day she moved in. She's my mother. And I'm your husband. Or does that not matter anymore? Her breath hitched. For the first time, I saw doubt in her eyes. She looked away. Why didn't you tell me? Because he doesn't matter. I spent my life trying to forget him. She was silent for a long time. What did he want? I hesitated, then unfolded the letter. He said he didn't have much time left. He wanted my help. I ignored it. Claw's gaze searched mine. And you never planned to tell me? I shook my head. I didn't want him in our life. She swallowed. But my mom... I let out a bitter laugh. She found this letter and saw an opportunity. She twisted it. Claw's jaw tightened. I could see the war inside her, the pull between what she wanted to believe and the seeds of doubt Lorraine had planted. I reached for her hand. She pulled away. My chest tightened. Cla, you know me. She exhaled shakily. I thought I did. The words sliced through me. She stood abruptly, shoving the letter into her purse. I need to think. My heart pounded as I watched her walk away, knowing that if I didn't act soon, I might lose her forever. Claire walked away, and for the first time, I wondered if I was already too late. That night, sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the doubt in her face, the way she had pulled her hand away like I was a stranger. I had thought telling her the truth about the letter would be enough, but Lorraine hadn't just planted a lie. She had planted fear, and fear was hard to kill. By morning, Claire still hadn't come home. My calls went unanswered, my texts ignored. I couldn't sit back and let Lorraine manipulate her any further. I had to fix this. I went to the cafe where I found Claire, distant and guarded. When she pulled the letter from her bag and placed it between us, I knew she needed the whole truth. So, I told her. About my father leaving, about the years of struggle, and about the letter that came 20 years later, asking for a chance I never gave. Her mother had twisted that truth into something else, into another secret I was supposedly keeping from Claire. You believed her? I asked, frustration boiling over. I didn't want to, she whispered. But you hid the letter. I didn't know what to think. I tried to make her see the manipulation, but she needed time. time I didn't have. When she left again, it felt different. Final. That night, the house was unbearably empty. Then, Marcus called. "Lorraine's at your house," he said grimly. "She's telling people you're abusive." Rage surged through me. I called Claire. "You need to come home, now." "She wouldn't," Claire said, but her voice wavered. "She is," I pressed. "And if you don't stop her, she'll make sure you never come back." Minutes later, Claire arrived. Lorraine played the concerned mother, weaving her lies. But this time, Claire didn't waver. "My husband is not abusive," she said firmly. "My mother lies." Lorraine flinched. "Sweetheart." "Leave," Claire interrupted. Lorraine's mask cracked, but she left. The damage, however, lingered. Inside, Claire wrapped her arms around herself, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know how to undo this." "We don't have to undo anything," I said. "We move forward." She hesitated. "I don't know how." That night we slept in the same bed, but there was distance. Then, just as I drifted off, she whispered, "She's been texting me." I turned. "What?" "She keeps using different numbers." Claire handed me her phone. Dozens of messages, manipulations, threats. "She's trying to scare you," I muttered. "It's working." I swallowed my anger. "She doesn't control you. Not anymore." Claire's voice wavered. "What if she's right? What if I regret this?" I stiffened. "Do you regret us?" "I don't know." The words cut deep, but I held on. "I love you, Claire." She didn't say it back, but she didn't pull away. The next morning, there was a shift. Small moments of closeness. Trust would take time. That night, she finally said what had been lingering between us. "I want us to go to therapy." I studied her. "Do you think we need it?" Her laugh was quiet, sad. "I don't think we don't need it." She was right. If there was anything left to save, we had to fight for it. Together. Relief flickered across Claire's face when I agreed to therapy. It wasn't an "I love you," but it was a start. Our first session with Dr. Rivera was awkward. Claire admitted, "I don't know how to trust my own thoughts. For so long, my mother told me how to think, how to feel. Now I don't know what's real." It hurt to hear, proof of how deep Lorraine's influence ran. Dr. Rivera turned to me. "And you?" "Angry," I exhaled. Not at Claire, at Lorraine, for what she did to us. I thought love was enough, but I was wrong. Claire reached for my hand, and I held on like it was the only thing keeping me steady. Therapy continued. Some days were harder than others, but bit by bit we found our way back to each other. I noticed it in small ways. Random texts, lingering, glances, a soft, "I missed you," whispered into the mirror. One night she curled up beside me and whispered, "I love you," and for the first time in a long time, I believed we were going to be okay. Months passed and we built something new, stronger, real, ours. Then, one morning, Claire called me into the bathroom, her voice unsteady. She held up a pregnancy test. 2 lines. "Say something," she breathed. "You're pregnant," I whispered, then started laughing. "Claire, this is amazing." Tears welled in her eyes. "I was scared to tell you, after everything. I didn't know if this was something you even wanted." I cupped her face. "Claire, this is everything I've ever wanted." Weeks later, at our first ultrasound, we saw the flicker of a heartbeat. Claire gasped, covering her mouth. "That's our baby," I whispered, overwhelmed. As her belly grew, so did our excitement. One evening, folding tiny clothes, she hesitated. "Do you think I'll be a good mom?" I took her hands. "You are nothing like Lorraine. We'll mess up. But that won't change the fact that you're already the best mother our baby could have. She placed my hand on her stomach. A tiny kick. See? He agrees with you. When the day finally came, Claire endured 14 hours of labor, gripping my hand with a strength I didn't know she had. At 3:47 a.m., our son's first cry filled the room. Tears blurred my vision as I watched Claire cradle him, exhausted but radiant. We had survived the storm. We were home. A few days later, the doorbell rang. On the mat sat a small silver box. No name, just an envelope. Inside, a single message. Blood is thicker than water. Lorraine. Claire met my gaze, understanding, without words. She took the card, crumpled it, and tossed it away. I kissed her forehead, exhaling. Lorraine had no power here, not over us, not ever again. As I looked at my wife and son, I knew we had won.